very, very much. So now we want to bring up our final honoree of the evening, and that's 2025 Face of Lupus, and that's Amber Shepard. Amber, if you can please come up. We seem to have a theme here. Amber's also a longtime supporter of LFNC. She's not only used many of our programs, but she's been a patient on our patient panel and been a lupus advocate in Washington, D.C. Welcome to the stage, and thank you very much.
I first and foremost want to take my gratitude to the LFNC for allowing me the privilege and the honor to be the face of lupus this year. I cannot get back what they have given me over the years. It's been absolutely incredible. And I think back to the first time I ever came here was this young, beautiful girl with lupus who I believe was in a wheelchair at her speech. And that's Whitney, and she's here today. That was a long time ago. And brought friends like Whitney to be a part of my life. And it's not just in forms of group support, mentors, advocacy, but the wealth of knowledge that the LFNC gives to all of us. They have a lot of support for us, a lot of things that we can learn through their program that I did not know before. A lot of ways to manage lupus, doctors, how to speak with your doctor. That was a great class. I did a class at Stanford also for lupus and pregnancy, which was a great one that we were a part of at Stanford with mothers with lupus. So it brings a lot of support to all of us as patients. It brought a place to give me call home, a place to feel heard, safe, and a place where I felt like being me wasn't just the face of a disease. I truly thought really long and hard about what to say to a room full of amazing people. And I want to say I probably rewrote this 10 times. Probably 10 times. At first, I was more focused on my own journey, but then I felt like it just wasn't enough. It needed to come to some important parts about the journey for all of us. What I felt would make this be something you would remember as all of you left here today. And this is what I realized. I realized that the following numbers were so deeply important to the last 13 years of my life. Those numbers being 40, 27, 61, 205, 34, 12, 5, 975, 3, and 36. And I'll try my hardest to briefly explain why on each one of these to you guys. To begin, I'll start with the number 40, and for me, this one's quite a doozy. The past year, I stepped out of my 40th surgery. For almost one for every year I am old, yet these truly didn't start till around 2010. I may have only have had 5 surgeries before that, but in the last 15 years, I've experienced 35 surgeries. Not only taking a toll on me, but my family's who's here today, and my daughter as well. My parents have really stood by me, been present. They've had to take time out of their life to drive to and from surgeries, stay with me, sometimes even, wondering, is my daughter gonna come out of surgery today, right? One year I had a really severe issue with a surgery that I had, and I was rushed to the ICU with a heart condition. And that was a really probably not a fun one for my mom. I'm also thinking that for my daughter, it's never been that easy. She'd be at school constantly worrying about me the whole time. Is my mom okay? Is she all right? I haven't heard anything, while trying to all get through class, right? It's pretty tough. I think that when they come these days and say, oh, Amber needs another surgery, nothing is surprising to us anymore. Let's see. The next one for me would be the number 27, which represents the number of procedures I've had to have since diagnosed with lupus. These not limited to spinal taps with severe complications, angiograms, colonoscopies, endoscopies, echocardiograms, pH probes, esophageal motility tests, where I got to be like Kaya was in the NICU and wear a tube that went from my nose into my esophagus, down into my stomach for 48 hours, which brings a whole new light to yourself when people would stare at us pretty funny when we go to breakfast, thinking, what are all these cords hanging off, with a big old mesh hat on, let's see. 61 represented the number of diagnoses and health conditions that I have. It was like, whoa, I had to take a step back. It was pretty overwhelming the other day to even think about. I actually had to double check myself twice. I had to go back and go, is this real? I see the notes on my phone, but I had to go back to Stanford's website, El Camino's, and go, oh my gosh, 61. There was 61. And this doesn't even reflect the amount of times I've been to the ER or even the urgent care. My family sitting at this table over there could tell you how many times I've called them in the middle of the night. Amber's on her way to the ER. I'm over here at urgent care. Can you come get Kaya? Because she can't stay there with me. Or that they would just come rushing to be by my side. My dad, who is here with me today, would also crack the joke with El Camino Hospital that they could just roll me on back to the cot in the back that had my name on it because I was so well known there. They called me the frequent flyer. We'd get a kick out of that. But that's not ideal, right? You don't want to, as much as I want that care where people know me when I walk into the hospital or they know me when I walk into the ER, that's not what we want for ourselves. We don't want to go to a place where all the nurses and the ER doctors all know you by name and say, hey, Amber, come on back. Let's see what we can do for you today. But that's what it's like for us. We get to know these people so well because we're there so often. 205 represents the amount of IVIG infusions I've had since my diagnosis in early 2013. I do these infusions every 21 days, and I'll do them for the rest of my life. They take about 3 to 8 hours each infusion, depending on my allergic reaction to them. And this doesn't include the amount of infusions I've had to do sub-Q where I was allergic to them, or if I had a nurse come to my home to do the care where they cannot access my medical port or my IV. So then I'd have to transport it to the hospital to try to get care for that. Doesn't include any of those. Number 34 for me represents the amount of medications I'm on regularly, whether that's pill form, injection, or IV form, right? Could you imagine? I'm thinking, how could you manage 34 pills, right? Or medications, and I laughed. I told my mom I should have brought what I call my little luggage with me here today and opened it for all of you to see what that looks like. It's like its own carry-on that you carry with you in the airport. Whitney might know, and you open it in front of everyone at security, and it's all these pills that you're taking, right? And that doesn't include what was my number 12, which was my PRNs, right? Your as-needed medications for other things. So in total, 46 medications I take at any given time. The next number I would move on to is number 12. And for this, it represents multiple things for me. It represents the number of years I've been fighting Social Security to be on disability. My fight with them started in 2013 when I was very sick at the time. And to this day, I've been fighting with them, and I think I've gotten approved once. And it was already after I was forced to go back into work because I had to have a roof over my daughter's head, and I couldn't survive while I waited for them to decide if they considered all these things a disability. Sorry, I lost my place. Number 5 would represent the next phase after I applied for disability. Number 5 for me represented the time it took to get to a judge phase. And I don't know if any of you have ever been a part of the ongoing battle with disability, but you get denied like 4 times, and then you get to fight them in front of a judge, who a judge came back and said, what is wrong with you guys? You can't see that this person has a disability. But it took me 5 years to get there, and by that time, again, I was already back at work, but by the time I was awarded to be known as disabled, it took them another 4 years before I got paid. So in totality, it was 9 years before I ever received a benefit from them. 9 years. And I did apply again. This will give you another example. In 2021, I had caught a pretty nasty little infectious disease and applied for it in 2021, and I'm still waiting to even hear for my first denial or approval. So it is 4 years later, and I'm still in the review phase of that battle with them. And talking with my attorney, she said that at least 3 out of every 5 patients she has with lupus is either homeless, living in their car, or have taken out all their savings and are lacking basic necessities for themselves, or have moved in with family to have support care for them and their children because we are not considered disabled. And this does not include the high amount of patient deaths on her cases before they ever got approved or even were heard in front of a judge's decision. This one's going to be a little tough for me. 975. This represents the number of days that my dear friend, who is sitting at the table with my parents, has been waiting for a kidney. This is his second transplant since his diagnosis, a man who has been suffering dialysis this whole time. And losing him before a kidney ever comes would be heartbreaking to me and so many of us. Emmett is a huge, huge support for our community. He runs the male lupus group. It's rare to have lupus if you're a male, and he is a male support group that so many people rely on. And I myself, he lifts my spirits all the time. And I could not imagine a life where he is not in it. And it just kills me to think that he has waited 975 days for a kidney. It's mind-blowing to me. You're welcome. Three is another one that also leaves a mark on my heart, but is also my good, because I couldn't just leave you guys with a bunch of horrible stuff. My dearest friend, Stacy, is another lupus warrior, has also been dealing with not only what lupus brings to the table, but cancer in her lungs and abdomen that has required multiple surgeries of radiation and chemo. And I know that during that time, she had to come off a significant amount of her lupus medication just to go through that process, and became very, very sick. On top of her cancer, she became very ill during that time. 3 is also the number of best friends that I've gained through the LFNC. And that doesn't include just friends. Whitney, Christine von Ronsfeld, there's a lot of friends that I have who are amazing people that would support me, but I've gained 3 of the most beautiful people in my life that I talk to on a regular basis. And if it wasn't for them, I don't think I would have them in my life. They taught me that it was okay to talk about lupus. I didn't have that when I first started coming to the foundation. I had met Christine von Ronsfeld, and she said, oh, you gotta come, through a friend. And it was then that I realized that I could speak about this. I could talk about it in a room full of this many people, no matter how much I'm sweating or how nervous I am, you guys, that I could talk about it without being embarrassed, without feeling like that I was just this person to be pitied upon, because that's how you feel. You feel like, oh, everybody pities me, and you don't want to really feel pitied, right? You want to just be heard. And that gave me a place where I could feel heard and have patients who could support me, and I could help them. And it also brought me the ability to do the other 3 things that I love so absolutely very much, is not only being an advocate, a mentor, but I am part of the buddy program. And it is probably the one thing that taught me that while my journey is very brutal, there's this absolute beautiful side to it at the same time. I get to help the new patients that are coming onto our groups. I get to be their buddy or mentor. I get to go to the hospital and bring patients who are suffering in the hospital alone a meal and hang out with them. We aren't doing that right now, but we were doing that for a while, where we would go to Stanford and sit with them. And it also allowed me to be this part of advocacy that I never had before. And now thinking back, I think I'm on 3 platforms now. I advocate for Lupus Foundation here, Lupus of America, and Rare Disease. And only because of the LFNC did they give me the strength to do all of that for other patients. And I think my most memorable moment of that time was when I went to Capitol Hill with you guys, and I was the patient for the Face of Northern California, and I got to meet all the senators and stuff. And my most memorable about that was meeting Anna Eshoo and Kamala Harris. And even to this day, when I see them out and about, they tell me the one thing that they remember so much about me wasn't that we were all there fighting, was that the way I explained it to them was so keenly important to them. I told them while other parents were out enjoying their children, they were out bike riding, they were out at the parks, I was busy figuring out my death plan. What was gonna happen to me if I died? Where was my daughter gonna go? Who was she gonna be with? Because she was with me all the time. And I told them, no one sits back and thinks, I was thinking I was like 35 at the time, that I would have to make a death wish, like my death plans. Like, what's my wishes if I died tomorrow? And that was a very brutal month in my existence, trying to figure out what my child was gonna, where this was gonna go, who was gonna take care of her, who was gonna fight the family court battle for me if I died, because at the time I was really sick. And it took years upon years, probably 6 or 7, to get my diagnosis of lupus. I had 9 of the 11 markers for a very long time. Dr. Parsa might not remember me, but he saw me a lot in the urgent care and was very, very amazing. And at that time, it took so long to get diagnosed. And I think that's something we all fought with. I mean, I know friends who has been longer than that without a diagnosis, which means they're going without treatment. I think my last number for you guys of the day, if I'm not mistaken, was 36. And that is the number of care providers on my fancy little portal at Stanford. If you look at my care team, it is 36 people. And that does not include El Camino Hospital, my regular primary care. It doesn't include a lot of my doctors, but 36 nurse practitioners, doctors, the whole entire care team at Stanford is 36. And with that said, let me see what else I had for you guys. I wanted to talk with you guys briefly about one of the special people in my 36 at Stanford. I met this doctor at a random invitation I got from a nurse to go to the Immunodeficiency Foundation, because I have, unfortunately, overlapping diseases. So I have autoimmune and lupus and an immune deficiency, so they overlap each other. So the care is very special care, because what I need for my immune deficiency kind of doesn't work very well with my medications for lupus. So it's a very big fight to go back and forth and figure out what medications really work and what really helps me. And I met him randomly at an event where I begged him to be my doctor because his speech was so amazing. And at the time I was transferring from one insurance to Medi-Cal, and I had to start all over. I had to find new doctors because my insurance doctors I had before were not what I could use on Medi-Cal. And this doctor has gone above and beyond in his care for me. Not too many years ago, I had a very big fight with an infectious disease, and he made sure that at the time when we didn't know what it was, that he was going to find out what it was. So not only was he my lupus doctor, but he went so far above and beyond to figure out what was wrong with me, because I was really sick at the time, and he cared a lot for my well-being. He made sure I got into urgently with doctors, got the tests I needed, the scans I needed. And he just goes in above and beyond for me. This doctor makes me feel heard. His bedside manner is top notch. He listens, explains everything in detail for me. He advocates for me and my health, and I never, ever leave there feeling lost. And he is our honoree tonight, Dr. Chai Chen. He's a true diamond in the rough, you guys. If anyone wants him as their doctor, I welcome you to our group. And I think back on this battle over the last 15 years, and I can truly say this fight is not for the weak. I believe I had a lot of issues before my diagnosis, and I don't think that we at the time knew that these were lupus-related issues. I've seen a lot of illness, pain, suffering, and even being after diagnosed and on medications, it's a very up and down road that we travel. 1 minute, I can be trucking along, feeling good. I'm like, and then I feel so good today. And then the next day, he's in the hospital. I'm in the hospital. We're chatting each other from the hospital bed, and it's that fast. It's overnight. It's in the blink of an eye. I can feel great 1 minute, come home 2 hours later, and I am down for the count, really sick. So I'm going to say it comes on fast like a tornado is what I put. So I think I skipped around you guys. I'm sorry. So I'm hoping with that said, you guys, when I look at this speech and what I wrote tonight, I can't believe that this disease has no cure for patients like Emmett or me or Whitney. Some of us always suffering, and I can't believe there's more of us suffering that have no help, no support, and not even a clue yet that this is lupus that they're fighting, and a lot who suffer in silence. And my understanding, we have a decent amount of patients who take their own life. So I am so grateful for the doctors who support us, the nurses, our children, my family, our friends, and the LFNC. We could not do this without you, truly. I hope that with this long book that I read to you guys this evening, that you see more light into the lives that we collective as an us live, and that we may be more understood and heard. And I hope you walk away understanding us more and seeing what our fight is like on the regular, and fight with us to support for a cure. That's all I have.
Let's give a round of applause for Amber, my mom.